What's up guys, Meredith with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we're checking out the Bestop Trektop Slantback Soft Top in Black Diamond, fitting all 2021 and newer two-door Ford Broncos. Now, whether you have a hardtop and you don't love the limitations of it and you want more of that freer feel in your Bronco, or your factory soft top has taken some damage and you want a more versatile replacement, then this is going to be up your alley. Now, this will be great for the Bronco owner who is in search of a quality top that's going to switch on the fly for whatever scenario that you encounter or whatever you're really feeling that day, with multiple configurations and a well-engineered system that's going to make it very easy to do it. It will also have more of a sharp look to the back with a slant back appearance compared to factory if you want to add a little bit more personality to your build in addition to some of those functional characteristics. This will be a soft top to cover up your cabin, but it's also going to take multiple forms and change to whatever configuration that you're in the mood for that day, regardless if you want the top fully open or partially open. Now, the biggest feature here literally is the Sunrider feature. Now, with two easy to pull spring latches on the header here, you can release the top and fold it back into itself on the sports bar, exposing the front and the rear seats for a convertible style. And the windows around the back are also going to be fully connected by a C channel, and the top will have a complete zipperless design, so you're not going to have to fight with a stuck zipper to remove them for the most open air experience that this top brings to the table. Now, with the windows removed, you can still close the Sunrider if you need to or want to have more coverage with free flowing air still. Now, compared to the factory, it's not going to drop all the way to the tailgate, but the benefit of that is that the position will be up and out of the way on the sports bar, so you can easily get in and out of the back of your Bronco without having to sacrifice that open air experience. Now, the factory one will also have that square back look like I mentioned, and it can only be disassembled as a whole unit, as to where this can be taken apart piece by piece, and it also has that slant back look. So not only is it better looking, but it's easier to work with. Now, you also get some storage pockets up front. They are mesh, they are big above the driver and passenger seats. It's a small but very useful feature that I think is a good touch to the soft top. This is made of a black diamond sailcloth material, which is very similar to the factory design and the look and feel of it, but this one will have a top-coated vinyl weatherproof woven acrylic and poly cotton inner layer here for reinforcement, giving it great strength and the ability to hold up to harsh conditions. Now, the frame and hardware will consist of thick and durable plastic for some of the pieces and tough but lightweight steel for the others, being strong and easy to handle while also being very long lasting. Now, like I mentioned, this will also have a very tough plastic C channels for the windows, so you're not going to have to worry about any annoying zippers, which is probably the best thing about this top. And the corner windows will have a thick plastic support to maintain that slanted shape in the back for that sporty appearance. This is about $1,600, and while it is a steeper price point than other mods in general, it will save you a few bucks compared to others in the category. Now, again, this will be closer to the factory appearance in the material, but compared to the factory, this is going to be much more flexible in design. It'll be customizable and easy to use and live with, making it a great pick. Now, while maintaining its versatility, it will also save you compared to heavier weight choices that you may not need, like a twill version of this top, being just as capable, just a little lighter on the insulation and lighter weight. Now, regardless, if you're in search of a well-built and very capable soft top that will change to your lifestyle, then this is going to be a solid option for you. Now, install is getting a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. It's not necessarily a difficult install, but it is a longer and more tedious process, probably taking you about 4 hours, give or take, to complete the job. I do also want to note that this top is going to fit best and stretch best when left out in the sun, and if it's around 70+ degree weather. Colder temps are not going to allow the fabric to stretch as much, so heat is going to be your friend here, so I would take advantage of that when you get to install. However, at this point, we can head over to our shop, check out a detailed breakdown on how you can get this onto your Bronco at home. So that's going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, flathead screwdriver, a plastic pry tool, a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters, an extension, T30, 40, and 50 millimeter Torx sockets, 5 millimeter Allen socket, and a few alcohol wipes. What's up guys? Today we're installing a soft top on our Bronco, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is remove our hard top. So the first thing we're gonna do is hop into the driver's seat and start taking off our roof panels. So from the driver's seat, we have our two roof panels here. Now the driver's side is gonna have to come off first because it overlaps the passenger side. So we have these 4 latches that we need to undo and we can pop our panel off. Those 4 latches are gonna be exactly the same on the other side, just mirrored. So these we're gonna twist to unlock. And then this last one that's different than the other 3, we're gonna pull down on. And with all of our latches released, we can push up on this and remove it. And then you can do that same thing for your other roof panel. Next, we can come to the back driver's side corner. We have a window washer fluid line and an electrical connector that we're gonna have to disconnect. Now you have a nice spot down here to plug those in so that you keep them out of the way. So we're gonna push in on that black tab on the connector and disconnect it. And then we can pull this down and plug it into that slot. And then for the washer line, we're gonna press in the silver tab, pull it out, and we can hook it onto that little nipple. Next, we can come along our side window. We have 4 T50 Torx bolts that we have to remove. The first one is closer to the front of the Bronco and the other 3 are in the back. So I'll take a T50 Torx socket to pop these out. Now our last bolt's tucked away in the corner behind our roll bar. So same T50 Torx socket to remove it. And then repeat that same process on the other side. So now we can come to the top of our hard top. We're gonna be looking for the bolt that's closest to the hard top, and we're gonna remove that with the same T50 Torx socket. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. So now we've got everything unbolted and we're ready to lift our hard top off of the Bronco. I've got myself a buddy to lift up the other side because this is kind of bulky. So we'll lift this up and get it out of the way. So the first thing we need to do is lay down some protective pads so that we don't scratch up our paint. Now these are stuck down with adhesive, so what we're gonna do first is take an alcohol wipe to wipe down the surface so that we get a good bond. We're wiping all along the side rail here. Now if you don't have alcohol pads, you can do that exact same thing with a 50-50 mix of isopropyl alcohol and water with a clean microfiber towel. So now these adhesive pads come in 2 pieces. We have the first section and then the section that's gonna go on the back. So for this front one, you're gonna wanna line up your 2 holes here as well as these little fender bolts. And then once you do, this backing's split in half so you can peel off one side. And then we'll line everything up. Once you have everything lined up, you can go ahead and stick that down. And then we'll peel back the other side of our backing. And then lay that down. And now we can get our second piece. This is gonna line up just like this with all of these holes as well as our 2 fender bolts. And then same thing, we'll just peel back that liner. Line up our holes. stick that down and then pop off the other side. And lay that down. And then you can repeat that same process on the other side. Next, we're going to be installing this weather seal. This is going to run from the crease here between the door and the quarter panel and run all the way back to where this meets up to the tailgate. So we're going to peel the backing off of this, and then we can start to lay this down. Now once we get to the end here, we're going to cut off the excess with a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters. So I'm just going to cut this flush to the end of that quarter panel. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to take a T30 torque socket and remove these 3 bolts to install our cover that's going here. Now we're not going to be reusing those 3 bolts. We have 3 new ones that we're going to use. So we're going to install our cover. And then we're taking our M6 by 1 by 30 bolts and threading those into that same hole. And then we'll take that same T30 torque socket and tighten all of these down. And now do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to add this foam pad to the top of the piece that we just installed. So we're going to peel off this backing, and then you can kind of see where it goes based on the shape. So we'll just line that up and stick it down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to have to add our corner pieces. So to do this, we're going to have to pop out this panel a little bit to get to the bolt hole that's behind it. So we have this little filler panel here that I'm going to pop off first with a plastic pry tool. And we'll pop that out. And we can get that same pry tool in here to pop our panel back. And now we have enough access to get our piece in there. So now we can slide this tailgate retainer into place. We have this tab that's going to go in between the panel here, and there's a bolt hole that we're going to use to hold this down. So we'll slide that into place, and then we're going to take an M6 by 1 by 15 bolt, and we're going to thread it into that hole. And then for our other 2 threads, we're going to use our factory bolts that we pulled out of our hardtop to hold this down. Now we can take our factory hardtop bolts and thread those into those factory locations. And then we'll take a T50 torque socket and tighten those down. Now with those 2 bolts tightened down, we can pull out this inner panel and tighten down our other bolt with a T30 torque socket. And then we just need to put our clips back into place. So we'll just push in on that. Now the little filler panel that went around the roll bar isn't gonna fit with this piece installed, so you can just put that in a safe place. Next we have this foam block that we're gonna slide into our tailgate retainer. And then you can repeat that whole process for the tailgate retainer on the other side. Next we need to install our side window retainers, but first we need to add a felt strip to this. Now there's this edge that overhangs the other one. It's gonna go on the top of this edge. So I'm just gonna lay this down. I'm gonna take my felt strip, peel off the backing here. And then we can start laying it on that edge and run it all the way across. And then once we get to the other side, take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters and cut off the excess. Now we can lay this down in place. Smaller tab's gonna line up with this rivet. And then our other two are gonna line up with our factory hardtop mounting holes. So we're gonna be reusing those hardtop bolts. And then up at our riv nut, we're gonna use an M6 by 1 by 15 bolt. Now we can grab a T50 torque socket to tighten down our two factory bolts, and then a T30 torque socket for our new bolt. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next we can install this rail above our driver's side door. So we're gonna line this up. We have two factory bolts here and here that we're gonna have to remove, and then we're gonna put them back in. Now the only difference being on this one, we're gonna add a 5mm spacer underneath the bracket on this rail. So now we can take a T50 torque socket and pop these two bolts out. And now we'll grab that rail and lay it down into place. We'll take that spacer and drop it there. Now you have two different bolts here, a longer and a shorter. The shorter's going up front and the longer's staying with the spacer. So make sure you don't mix those up. And then we'll grab that T50 torque socket again and tighten these down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're gonna install the bracket that's right behind the one that we just installed. So we're gonna be reusing our factory bolt from our hardtop for this front hole, and then we have an Allen bolt for this back one. Now, just like with the piece in front of it, we're gonna be using a spacer on this bracket. So we'll put that spacer down and then line up our hole and get that bolt started. And then we're gonna take our Allen bolt and thread into the threaded hole in the rear. And then we'll grab our T50 torque socket for our front bolt. And then we'll switch to a 5mm Allen socket for our back one. And then do that same thing on the other side. Now we can come back to the two threaded holes behind the bracket that we just installed, and we're going to be installing our control link bracket. So we're using those same Allen bolts to thread into these holes. And then we'll take that 5mm Allen socket and tighten these down. And then repeat the same process on the other side. Next, we can install our rear halo mounting bracket. So we're going to be using our T40 bolts. Thread those into these holes. And then grab a T40 torque socket, tighten these down. Now you can do that same thing on the other side. So now that we have everything set up on the Bronco that we need, we can start assembling our soft top on the ground. Now I've got our #1 bow here. This is the one with the latches. I've got it flipped over. We're gonna flip it over one more time to install our side rails. So we'll flip this over. We have a couple threaded holes right here that we're gonna lay our side rail down onto. And then we can take two M6x1x15 bolts and thread into those holes. And then we'll take a T30 torque socket and tighten these down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install our #1.5 bow. Now it has these tabs. You're gonna want these facing downward. And then this little slot in here is gonna slide over this lip. We'll drop that into place on both sides. And then we have these shoulder bolts that we're gonna install in there and tighten them down with a T30 torque socket. And once we have our bolts tightened down, we're just gonna lift this up so that we can install our next bow. Next, we can install our #2 bow. It's gonna be pretty much the same thing as the 1.5, except the tabs on this one are gonna be pointing up instead of down. Same thing with the shoulder bolts. Thread them from the inside out. And then take that T30 torque socket and tighten down these two bolts. Next, we're gonna install our linkages that connect our 1.5 and 2 bows together. We're gonna be using these two tabs. Slide this over and install another shoulder bolt. And then once again, T30 torque socket to tighten it down and do the same on the other side. Now the last thing we have to do on the floor is install these adhesive pads. So we're gonna grab our frame and flip this over. And then we're gonna be putting this pad down right here. So we'll peel that backing off of our adhesive and then line it up and stick it down. And then do that same thing on the other side. So now we're ready to lift our top up onto the Bronco. I've got a buddy to get the other side while I lift this side. The front with the latches is gonna go up flush against the top of the windshield, and then we're gonna fold the fabric over the windshield and onto the hood for now. Now with our top lifted onto the Bronco, we can come right above our B pillar here. And this one has that same notch as the other bows. So we're gonna slide that over this mounting tab and take another shoulder bolt, thread that into the other side, and take our T30 torque socket to tighten it down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install the linkage that's gonna connect our #2 bow to our roll bar here. So So we have a longer straight edge and a shorter one. Shorter one's going towards the rear, and this is gonna kick out towards the outside like that. So we'll slide it into place and then grab 2 more of our shoulder bolts and thread in. Then we'll take a T30 torque socket and tighten that down. And then repeat that process on the other side. So now I've folded the soft top back so that we can install our bracket on our back bows to our halo bracket. Now I've also lifted the soft top up to give us some slack to work with. So we're gonna flip this into our halo mount. It's gonna go on the inside here, and we're gonna grab M6 by 1 by 15 bolts to go in from the outsides. Now this is gonna be pretty hard to see once it flips down, so I'm gonna use a T30 torque socket and an extension to get my bolt started here. This one's a lot harder to get to, whereas this one you have a lot more access inside the car. And now I'm gonna take that bolt, lift up here, and line up my threads. And I'll do that same thing on the other side. Now on that inside hole, we can do the same thing. Line this up and thread in our bolt. And then we can throw that T30 torque socket on a ratchet and tighten this down. Now we can lift up on this fabric and take that T30 torque socket to tighten down our outer bolt. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install the rail for our side windows. Now, first thing we're gonna do is bolt down this string to the hole in our rail. Now we have a female end screw that's gonna go through the back, and then a male side that's gonna go through this and the front. Included in the kit is some red Loctite for this, because you can't really tighten it down that much. You have to hold the back with your finger and use a flathead to screw it down. Now for demonstration purposes, we're not gonna be applying that, but you can just rip this cap off and just put a little bit on the threads. So now I'm gonna take the female end and slide it through the back of this hole. And then we're gonna slide this on top of that. And then we'll put the male end screw into those threads. I'm gonna hold the back with my finger and take a flathead to just tighten that down until the back starts spinning. And then we can raise this up into place. Next, we have 4 of our M6 by 1 by 15 bolts. These are gonna go up through these holes in the rail and into these nuts on our 2 brackets. Now we'll take our T30 torque socket and tighten all of these down. Next, we can hop inside the car. We're gonna fold our soft top down and latch it down onto our factory hooks. Next, we can take our rear window and slide it into the channel that's hidden right under our fabric. So I'm just gonna fold this up to gain access to this channel. And then we can take this and go underneath of this bracket, slide that in, pull it across, and we'll just center it up. Next, we can slide our tailgate retainer into the bottom of our rear window. Now you want to make sure that this rubber strip is pointed down, and then we'll flip this up. We have the same style as the top, where we are going to slide it into this groove here. Now we can install the side windows, doing pretty much the exact same thing as the rear one. We're gonna slide this into this channel here. Now we can come to the corner here. We're gonna fold this back. It's gonna reveal this black tab that we're gonna fold down and tuck up and around our corner piece, just like that. And then we're gonna slide this into here, this into here, and then we're gonna put this button down onto here. Next, we're gonna come to our B-pillar here. If we fold this back, we have this that's gonna slide into this channel. So we're just gonna fold it over and then pull back. And pop that into place. And now we'll just do that same thing across the bottom here. We have this, it's gonna slide into this rail here. And we'll just work it all the way across. And then you can repeat that same process on the other side. Now for our rear window, we're gonna take this part here and slide it into our tailgate bar retainer. We'll line it up on both sides and then press it in. And then we can work on our side pieces here, bending them into this flat. And then we'll tuck this little flat, stick our Velcro down, and do that same thing on the other side. Now we can fold down the fabric on the corner, and we're gonna attach all of our Velcro strips on our side windows. And then do that same thing on the other side. Now we can hop inside the car. We have a couple more things to do. We have these Velcro straps that are gonna go over our bars. We have one at the front, one in the middle, and one all the way at the back. So we'll get the two closer to the front first. Just fold it over and stick it down. And then we can move to the back. Now, last one's right above our roll bar in the rear. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Bestop Trektop Soft Top in Black Diamond for your 2021 and newer two-door Bronco. Thank you for watching, and for all things Bronco, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.